that we're supposed to start at this time, but we start a little bit early. We have Kyle Marksteiner from City of Carlsbad and Danny Fletcher from the Mayor's Oil and Gas Summit that's coming up. And again, our apologies, Elizabeth Jackson, a little under the weather, so she wasn't here to do her radio segment, but she does want to remind everybody that Trick or Treat Artesia is coming up on the 29th. And if you'd like to donate candy to be handed out to the thousands of ghouls and goblins and kiddos that'll be roaming Main Street that night, you can drop them off at the Chamber, or you can drop them off here. We've got a collection box in the entryway here at KSVP building in downtown Artesia. So help out if you can, and because it's not going to be too long before all of the Halloween candy disappears in the stores and we turn straight into Christmas. Just it's kind of amazing. The Mayor's Oil and Gas Summit is this Thursday at the Walter Gerald's Convention Center down in Carlsbad, New Mexico, and it's the 10th anniversary edition. That's what we're talking about. Danny was talking about some of the speakers that are on the schedule. You mentioned the panel discussion that's going to kind of kick things off, and oil and gas has been in the news a lot, really, this year, Danny, with the increase in the price and then the increase in the oil price. And it seems like on some level, and I'm not wanting to turn this into a political discussion, but it seems like it's kind of hard not to. We're asking everybody else on the planet to increase oil production, and we're doing everything we can to not have oil and gas production right here in the United States. I'm assuming, like on your panel discussion, are these some of the issues that are going to come up and be discussed at this summit?
They'll be talking about all that stuff. In fact, that's why people ought to go. Number one, it's free. And if you really do want to find out the answers to those type of questions, come to the summit. And a lot of them are going to be answered. I don't know if we're going to get everything answered for you, because I don't think everybody knows yet. But we got some really good speakers. Like I said, that moderated panel with the association folks on it, they'll have a pretty good handle of what's going on. Our next speaker, though, is right here from Artesia, or I guess, I don't know if he still lives here or not, but anyhow, Hanson Yates is going to be giving a talk on Southeast New Mexico, drilling through the decades, and he is a fantastic speaker. If you just go see Hanson, it's worth it right there. Yeah, he does a great job. He's from Santo Petroleum, and midstreams in the basin, Diaco Aviki, is that how you say it? Yeah.
We all looked at Kyle because neither one of us.
Yeah, I'm not.
And I just nodded
sure.
to look authoritative.
Well, he's the chief operating officer of Crestwood Midstream Partners, and as you can tell, we've had some high-level folks going to be on these, either the CEOs or the COOs or.
And Crestwood recently acquired Sendero Midstream, which was another huge one, and so they're just a mammoth company in terms of investment in our area right now.
Excellent.
Then we're going to have another moderated panel discussion, and Alan Davis, the manager of Eddy County, he's going to be moderating that one. And Brian McGowan, Permian Development Manager of XTO Energy, will be on that panel. John Raines, he's the Vice President of Delaware Basin Unit of Devon Energy. Aaron Hunter, Vice President, Delaware Basin on ConocoPhillips. Brittany Steele, she's the Subsurface Characterization Manager in New Mexico of Occidental Petroleum Corporation, Oxy. That's a long title. I can't wait to hear what she does.
You got another couple long titles coming up too, Danny, so keep going.
Thank you. Let's see, The Future of the Delaware Basin, an overview by Robert G. Swires, Jr. He's the chief economic person for Chevron Strategy and Sustainability Department.
And Danny, I got a couple. First of all, Chevron has been our title sponsor for a long time on this event, and so we really appreciate them and all our sponsors. This guy's the real deal. We're so fortunate in a lot of our summits. We draw the vice presidents from Midland, Odessa. We get some of them. Wherever Chevron's biggest office is with the most windows and this guy is up there. We've already had to talk about how he's going to have his own entourage of security and folks. So this guy knows his stuff. So I hope everybody can come out and listen to what he has to say.
Great. What time is his presentation?
That's going to be about 11:30.
About 11:30.
Yeah. The whole summit's going to kick off about 8 a.m. The doors will open pretty early, about 6:30 or something like that. We'll have McDonald's there serving some breakfast as usual. So there's come get your cup of coffee and get your seats and stuff. Then, of course, the presentation of the colors, Star Spangled Banner, and it looks like we are going to have a lot of politicians there. None of them are really speaking at the summit, but a lot of them are going to be attending.
Well, somebody told me, or maybe I heard on the radio, there's like an election coming up in a few
Yeah,
weeks.
that's what the rumor is.
Yeah, so I'm guessing that's a good reason to have a gathering of politicians.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, they're going to come because it's a big event, and
Sure.
Our general take is, you know, we all have chances to hear the politicians speak, but the topics that they're talking about, this event is for the experts themselves to talk about, and so let's let that message come out.
Absolutely.
Then we got a special presentation from the Department of Energy.
Okay.
Nicole Nelson Jean, she's the Associate Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary.
I told you, he had a long
for
title.
field operations for the Office of Environmental Management.
Those are the folks in charge of WHIP.
I wonder if she can get that all on a business card.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Front and back.
That's about average for Department of Energy title.
Yeah. So this is the whip site related.
Yeah,
position.
yeah.
Okay.
You know, it's one of those. You know, we say Energy Summit. The focus is overwhelmingly oil and gas. We've talked about this in the past. You know, people ask about other energies. Well, when you go to Iowa at an agricultural convention, you're probably going to talk about corn. You come down to Eddy County in an energy summit, you're probably going to talk about oil and gas. We're one of the biggest counties in the country, period. So that's the bulk of this. But the fact of the matter is, if somebody high up in the Department of Energy wants to come, we're honored to have them to talk for a few minutes about some of their processes.
Absolutely.
And then our special lunchtime guest is Weatherman Steve Stucker.
I heard that.
Yeah.
Is he going
Have
to
you
bring
ever
his
heard
hot air
Steve?
balloon stuff?
I don't know if he's going to wear all those hat and coat and buttons and stuff, but I've heard him speak before. He's very motivating, and he's a fantastic speaker. And the thing is, we're going to have kids from the high school there, right?
Yeah. We had, some broadcasting students who were interested in possibly pursuing that as a career. Put together some great questions for us that they're going to ask Mr. Stucker. And, I've been the one who's been privileged to kind of work with Steve in setting this all up. And he's not playing a part when he's up there. Now, he's as nice of a person in real life as he is on TV at the Balloon Fiesta. When you look at his charity work that he does, when you look at his missionary work for animals, I mean, he's just a good guy every angle you look at it. And so we're very excited to have him.
Great. That's the lunchtime speaker.
Yeah, and of course for lunchtime we have our world famous ribeye steaks. They're not bad for free.
Yeah.
They're always good. That's true.
They're always good.
Excellent.
They're really good, and our committee is great. I want to thank everybody on our committee. We've been working on this all year long, and Kyle, he does all the heavy lifting. So, hats off to Kyle. We couldn't do it without him.
Okay. So if there's any trip ups or anything, it's Kyle.
That's how that works. Yeah, that's exactly how that works. Yeah.
But there won't be any. Everything's going to run smoothly.
There'll be
and
something.
be
But
perfect.
what we've always asked people, and we hope everybody comes. We have a lot of folks coming in from Houston, from Dallas, from Oklahoma, from wherever Chevron's big office is, probably Houston. And let's make Eddy County and Carlsbad look good. This is a chance to be great hosts. Let's welcome them. Let's show them what we have to offer, because this is a great chance. We've joked in the past, you could clear this entire agenda, have a big warehouse, have all their folks come in, have all the community come in, and get to meet and mingle and talk, and it would almost be just as worthwhile as a summit. Now, we love the educational and informative part, but bringing these different folks in under one roof is just what really makes this valuable. I mean, these guys were a very, very important dot on their map and their corporate board office, extremely important dot. But coming out and getting to meet with city councilors and county commissioners and community members and shake hands, that's why this is such an important event.
Well, I'm sorry, Danny, go ahead.
I was going to see if you get a chance on Wednesday to go by the airport out there in Carlsbad and see all the private planes that fly in for this thing.
Yeah,
They
you'd think
just
you were at a
lined up.
NASCAR race or something like that.
Exactly.
No, that'll be kind of enjoyable to see. And every single one of these companies over the last, especially since the last few years, since, like you said earlier, Kyle, the big players are now a part of this. They all have expressed their commitment to Southeast New Mexico, and I guess we'll find out more during the summit, but does it look like that has been the case whether it's been the jobs that they've created or the positions they've created, or their involvement in the community? Does it look like they really are integrating themselves and being a part of the community?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've been talking to some of their subcontractors in town, and they're all very busy. They got plenty of work, having a hard time finding help, as everybody is. But
Right.
it just seems like it's going in the right direction. And from what I'm hearing, and of course we'll find out at the summit, but this little boom's going to last for a few years, they say. And of course, it's oil and gas, so you never know. But I know some of the subs, some of the folks that build the compressors and stuff like that, they've got contracts for at least the next 2 years out there right now and are getting more. So
Yeah.
I think it's going to be good for this area, for
And-
Eddy County.
And Gene, if I could have a moment to
Sure.
speak about community investment.
Yeah.
First of all, even it extends into state investment. I mean, if you look at the Balloon Fiesta, if you look at the State Fair, those are both sponsored by companies that have their biggest presence in New Mexico, right here in Eddy County. But we had a situation near the start of the fall where there was a misunderstanding and we didn't have enough school supplies for Carlsbad's kids. There was a fundraiser kind of fell through the cracks, et cetera. And the Carlsbad Chamber of Commerce and the mayor's office, and we made about a half hour of phone calls. And during that time, we got tens of thousands of dollars worth of donations for school supplies, solved the problem. And that was these same folks. So commitment, absolutely. Last fall, there was a big event where they opened a bunch of STEM centers, at elementary schools across the area, and those were some of the same folks who will be speaking at the summit today. So, educating kids, providing them with opportunities, supporting nonprofits. It's been great. They've done a great job.
Yeah, I think a couple of the issues, hopefully, that'll get talked about or addressed during the summit are things like the EPA and the air quality for the Permian Basin, and is backdoor effort to try to slow down the oil and gas industry. Another thing too is there's this massive push, especially through the automotive industry, to electrify
Right.
everything, and that's fine, but you can't have any of that without the oil and gas industry. Just because your car doesn't have emissions doesn't mean that you've totally taken everything away
Absolutely.
from the oil and gas industry. I hope people realize that, and maybe that'll be some of the
Yeah.
education that comes out of this type of a summit.
And my impression from the major companies, the big ones, is that what they're going to say to something like that is look, we're fine with that. We're investing in that. We're looking at that as opportunities. We have a long history and we have the best people when it comes to knowledge of this sort of thing. So trust us to look into that, to be a part of that. We're not against it, but we also, as you said, we have to be realistic. We have to look at the facts of life, of what can the average resident afford for a vehicle, how many times do they need to stop from point X to point Y. And so I think they're taking a very neutral, broad approach to everything. They're not for it or against it. They're just, they are respectfully asking us to recognize that they're the experts in that field. They have the best people in that field. And so that we absolutely need to include them in those discussions.
Yeah. And go ahead, Danny.
And a lot of them are investing in the solar and the wind too, right along with their oil and gas. So they're concerned, and they're trying to fix it
Yeah.
and get better at it. And a lot of the bigger companies, especially, their emissions aren't that bad. They've got technology right now where they're getting it down and getting it under control. So they're really conscious about it, and they're trying.
That's good. What time will all of this, I think you mentioned it earlier, Danny, but what time does everything kind of kick off? When do people need to be there to get a good seat?
We try to start right at 8 o'clock because we got a packed program for everyone, and we'd like to be done with it by 1:30 in the afternoon, and that includes the lunch and everything. So we get started pretty much at 8 a.m.
Plan on coming by 7:45.
7:45.
Grab yourself a donut, grab yourself a cup of coffee, and then take a seat.
Okay, and this is at the Walter Gerald's Convention Civic Center Annex.
And
Okay.
we've got carts there. It's a big parking lot. We want any of our retirees visiting, any senior, and just anybody who has trouble with a long walk to be comfortable. And so we'll come pick you up by your car and take you to the front door.
Oh, well, that's very special. I'm glad you're doing
No
that.
joyriding down the highway, Jim.
Not yet.
And we do have isn't this a record number of exhibitors?
We have a record number of sponsors, a record number of exhibitors. We have 6 new sponsors of people who have recently moved their businesses to the area and want to be involved and want to get word out. And so, yeah, I mean, there's some good evidence to indicate that there's just a lot of new investment in our area.
That's fantastic. And Danny, I think you said this earlier. There's no cost for anyone to attend this.
Absolutely free. And like Kyle said, we'll come pick you up at your car.
Do you need to have a ticket in advance, or just show up?
Just show up.
Okay.
Just show up. Now, we're expecting a pretty good crowd this year, so if you want to get a chair, you better show up early.
Otherwise, you're going to be standing room
and
only.
what we do, the first few rows of tables are sponsored tables and so forth. And so, but it's a good room. You'll be fine wherever you are.
Yeah. So, John Henry, who's county commissioner, he gives his radio report. I see John every week because he's the mayor and he's the county commissioner. But he has talked about how well the revenues have been for the county,
right?
Because of the oil and gas, obviously being one of the major contributors to that. City of Carlsbad, kind of in the same.
How much time you got left, Gina? 'Cause that's a long answer. In some ways, yes. In some ways, there have been some changes to the state tax structure where municipalities such as ours, not some of the revenue for services that we previously got a few years ago is no longer going to the municipality. Instead, it's going to the state or county, et cetera. And so we're healthy in many ways, but there have been some changes. I can go on forever, but it's related to where a service takes place. Do you charge the tax from that, or where is your business located? It doesn't impact many communities, but it does impact a place like Carlsbad and Hobbs. And so, that we're healthy in many ways, but there are some concerns. It's called House Bill 6. Related to that, it's destination sourcing. There are some concerns related to that topic that where certain communities, where, to be frank, are the host of a lot of the work being done across the state and a lot of the revenue being generated across the state, certain communities are struggling a little bit because of some of those changes.
Now, is this a recently passed bill, or is that something that...
It went into effect last year.
Okay.
I want to say, somebody give me an electric shock if I get it wrong, I want to say the bill passed a couple years earlier. There are some reasonable tweaks that can be made to kind of balance things out a little bit better. The realistic thing is these communities, including ours, are still incurring the wear and tear of a higher population, of everything like that. And so finding a fair way of distributing that where we get the tax base to invest in fixing roads, to invest in needing more first responders because of our population increase. There's a balancing act there that needs to go on. And so that's kind of an ongoing issue.
Well, and having to deal with that, I think Carlsbad's probably dealing with it more so than Artesia is, because a lot of the production has moved to the southern part of the county, right, and not so much in this part of the county.
Yeah, the specific way things are structured, I think Carlsbad and Hobbs are taking the biggest hits. And they're fairly significant hits.
Well, sure. And those are, Carlsbad's been working on roads and traffic flow and...
we had the most rapid population acceleration in the state according to the census, and that's not even counting a few of the variables like temporary population, like the fact that the census was taken right when there was a big population dip due to COVID and some other things. And so, our population went way up even in the books, but it's actually gone up considerably more than that.
Wow, it's amazing. Danny, anything else about the summit? Are there any sponsors, any folks you want to mention,
again, a big thank you to Chevron. They're our major sponsor. They do so much for all of Eddy County, really.
Mm-hmm.
Special thanks to Chevron. But Oxy, Crestwood, XTO Energy, thank all these folks, XL Energy, Holtec, let's see, come on, Kyle, help me out here. Select Energy, Intrepid, Hub, ConocoPhillips. Like I said, we have a record number of sponsors this year. Santo Petroleum, Capitan Energy, Bobcat Services, Car Rigs and Ingram. Who am I missing? And then we have a lot of in-kind sponsors like your radio stations. Thank you very much.
We're happy
some
to-
hotels sponsors. They help us with rooms and things like that. Intrepid Mine, Carlsbad Foundation. Thank Mike Anaporta and them folks over there. They do our website and they handle all the money and the financials and stuff like that.
And Gene, you don't pay for 1,000 steaks without a few sponsors. So-
Well, of course.
And I want to know how many cows that is at some point. So I keep hoping that somebody will provide me the mathematical breakdown.
And I think that's a little more understandable answer. You know, you go to a county fair and you see the ginormous turkey legs walking around, and that's a whole nother conversation of where
where
those
the
come
giant
from.
mutant
Yeah.
turkeys.
You know, and not only Kyle, but a lot of the folks from the city of Carlsbad help out. Lupe Ornelas and Renee Madrid and Cheyenne Mathola. I know I'm missing somebody.
No, it's a full force effort.
Okay.
And it is, as we said, Gene, it's just extremely important. We want Carlsbad and Eddy County. You know, it's not just a place where you make money and you drill oil on a map. It's a place where your administrators, your scientists, where they raise families. That's what we want. We're regional offices where you bring in your folks with master's degrees and their wife and children or their husband and children. And, you know, they play sports, they go to science fairs, and they invest. And so that's how we want to see Carlsbad grow in the oil and gas community, is to become an actual presence like that. And I think this Energy Summit has played a role in making that happen.
Very good. Kyle Marksteiner, Danny Fletcher. It's Thursday, 8 a.m. sharp.
7:45.
7:45 to get the seat and the coffee, and it's at the annex there at the Walter Gerald's Civic
south
Center.
end of town.
South end of Carlsbad. Soon there's going to be a real good bypass to go all the way
Yes, sir.
there. All right. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Appreciate
Thank
you being
you,
here.
Gene.
We're going to take a quick break, open up